Welcome. In front of me is a Motorola Razr 40, and today I'll go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So, anyway, let's just get straight into it. So we do have a case in two parts. Now this case does not have any kind of sticking tape as some other cases do, specifically for like Samsung's. So we'll see how that holds, but I'm gonna set it to the side for now. Then we get our device. Please do not remove the attached screen protector or use third-party screen protectors. Doing so will void the device's warranty. That is very important information indeed. So obviously a bunch of YouTubers tend to show you, oh yeah, it works great without the screen protector, feels so much better. But yeah, warranty. Now this will also apply to Samsung devices as well, if you have one of these as well. Can I just like slide it out? I think I can. By mistake I put it into recovery mode, but anyway, so there we go. Ooh, that is a nice back. This is textured. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be like a leather, but it feels and looks pretty nice. Anyway, I'm gonna set it to the side for now. Now under we have our charger, so that's pretty nice that we get one included, and this is, I guess, double the amount of paper that it can waste. Okay, 33 watts. And here we get a Type A to Type C charging cable. That's about it. Okay, let's move over to the device. I want to check one more thing. Yes, still smells nice. This will seem a bit stupid and pointless, but I want to point this out because it's something that just brings me joy. The boxes from Motorola devices, since I don't know, a couple devices that I had here are basically scented, and they have like this nice smell to it. I do really like this, and I do enjoy the fact that they do such a minuscule thing, but it adds to just opening up your brand new device so much. Instead of smelling the plastic and china and all that, you smell this nice scent, which is really nice. So thanks Motorola for doing so. I know you don't need to. I know it adds no value, but it adds more to the actual like experience. So let's start with the device now. Right off the bat, this is a 6.9 inch, nice, display, 1080p by 2640 pixels. It is a foldable LTPO AMOLED display. LTPO basically refers that it folds, as also the foldable name would stand for. It has 1 billion colors, 144 Hz refresh rate, HDR10 Plus certified, and a peak brightness of 1400 nits, which is actually pretty good. Now, it also boasts an 85.1% screen to body ratio and 413 pixels per inch. And at the front, or folded front, I'm not exactly sure how to refer to this, we have a tiny little display. Holding it upside down, there we go. So this is relatively small, as you can possibly see. It's nothing really big, nothing compared to the 40 Ultra that has this entire screen covered in display, and they even decided to go around the cameras with the screen, which is pretty interesting design. This one is a super small 1.5-inch display with a 194 by 368 pixel resolution, and it's also AMOLED display with 1000 peak brightness. Obviously it's just a cover display, a super small one to see like notifications and other stuff like that, so it won't give you as much usability as, for instance, on the one that is on 40 Ultra or any other foldable, like full-size foldable devices like this one. Now, moving on into the internals. This device has a relatively big battery right here, being a 4200 milliamps, so not small battery, to be completely honest. It's decent size, especially for a foldable device. Now, 4200, it has that 30-watt charger, which doesn't really advertise how quick it will charge it. So yeah. Now we also have wireless charging in here at only 5 watts, but it's still here for people that like to use that. And continuing the internals, this device comes with a Snapdragon 7 Gen 1, so not really the fastest processor on the market, but because of it you will have most likely a little bit better battery life on your device. And at the very base, meaning like the lowest spec model, we have 128 gigabytes of storage with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Then we have 256 with 8 gigs of RAM and 256 with 12 gigs of RAM. And all of those options come with UFS 2.2 storage type. So it's not necessarily fast. It's going to be a little bit on a slower end compared to some other flagship devices. Now, keep in mind, this device is not a flagship. It's closer to a, I guess, probably the best way to describe this device, a premium mid-range. I think that would be the name that I would give it. Premium because obviously it's a foldable device, but the specs of it imply that it's a mid-range device, and it's also below the $1,000 price range, or in this case it's euros, so below 1,000 euros, meaning it's 800 euros. So it's on the cheaper side compared to some other foldable devices. So that's why I'm referring to this as a premium mid-range. Now, continuing on to the cameras, which you can see right here, we have only 2 cameras, which I'd say if the 2 cameras are good, that's fine. So the main one is a 64 megapixel f1.7 wide sensor, optical image stabilization, laser autofocus, PDAF. Then we got a 13 megapixel f2.2 120 degree ultra wide lens. And that's about it. Now when it comes down to shooting videos with these cameras, you can shoot at 4K 30, 1080p 30 or 60. And in the inside here, this camera right here is a 32 megapixel f2.4 wide lens, and also can shoot at 4K 30, 1080p 30 and 60. So there we go. And as you can see, it is hole punched. It doesn't get covered by the display like some other devices, for instance this one. So here we do have a camera, but it is, as you can see, covered by pixels. So here is just a normal cutout. Okay, and I don't think there's much more to say. We do have a side-mounted fingerprint sensor that doubles as a power button. We don't have a headphone jack. We have our speaker grills at the bottom, our charging port, microphone, and then at the top we got another mic, our cutout for our speakers when talking. Here we have our SIM tray. I will presume that this is just a SIM tray. Yep. So no expendable storage, and also this is just a single SIM tray. This is not a dual SIM as it might appear. And just to prove that, you can place card in here, right? It kind of stays in. This doesn't fit in here. There is no cutout for it. It's just kind of a little bit too small to accommodate for another SIM, so it's just a single SIM card. Now, to be completely honest, this is space that is kind of wasted here, because it could have accommodated for a little bit of a bigger battery. Everything could have been shifted inside and remove this useless space right here. But anyway, I'm not an engineer. Now, not much more to talk about in here with the specs, so I'm gonna touch upon a couple things that I've just felt right away. The feel of the device, really nice in hand. One thing that might seem a bit redundant, but it's not, trust me, is the shape of the device. It comes with like this rounded edges, which makes it opening up a little bit easier without much of a problem, because your fingers actually have something to grab onto. And the finish right here is more on the matte side. The reason I'm pointing this out is because my daily driver is the Fold 4. This has relatively flat edges, and sometimes when you're trying to open it up, if your fingers are a little bit sweaty, your fingers will literally slip over this. So it might be sometimes hard to open this up. I've sometimes struggled with it. It seems like a stupid thing to point out, but when you can just make it round, it's so much easier. And also not super like, shiny like this one where your finger just slips over it. Make it more matte. You'll basically grab onto it a little bit better and have less problem opening it up with your finger slipping if it's like summer and you're super sweaty, like it is right now. So just a little bit of a thing that I want to point out. But another thing that I want to point out is, not sure if this will be picked up by the camera, is the opening sound. Now I want to get rid of the sound of it clicking. Oh, there we go. Hopefully that's audible. So I believe this is the sound, I'm pretty sure this is the sound of the display just creaking here when it's being opened. It's not the best sound, I would say. Kind of removes from the premium aspect of it. But luckily it does make up with the fact that it does fold completely flush here, unlike some other devices like this one, where you can see it creates a massive gap here. It's more like a wedge. This is just nice flat shut. And also because of this, it kind of sounds nicer when it's being closed. It has this clap sound to it. So yeah, just subtle things, but obviously when it comes down to foldable devices, you're paying for a gimmick and a feature that you'd expect that it would add some more oomph to it, I guess would be the best way to describe. So it's more like a bling, because the usability of this device is about the same as almost any other. Now, that being said, it is a foldable device. And I want to talk about this for a moment because I personally am not the biggest fan of this sort of device, and I will explain why. I'm not opposed to folding devices altogether. I'm just opposed to these folding devices, the small ones. Because if I bring back the Fold, now let's completely skip over the price difference. I understand that this device literally costs half of what this one costs. But with that being said, here I get my device and I have a front entire display, and I can open it up and have a much bigger display inside, which obviously is the selling point of this phone. If something would happen to my internal display, which is obviously on a less durable side, luckily it's protected, then I still have the typical outside display, which allows me to use the device normally as you do with any other normal phone. It's a normal glass display. If it breaks the same way as any other display would, and also will probably cost you a little bit less to get it replaced. Now here, your primary display is the only display that you will be using, which is the internal one. It's foldable, so you get that bling of folding your device, but you also get the downside of it being less durable than a glass display, like you have in the front right here. And the reason I'm pointing this out is because if you get this display damaged, obviously repairing it will cost you significantly more. It's also gonna degrade on its own, so just folding it and then closing it will obviously degrade it over time, something that you don't have to worry about with a normal flat candy bar phone that doesn't fold. The glass is the glass. If it gets worn out, it's just gonna get scratched up. That's the only wear and tear that you're gonna be worrying about. Here, what you're gonna worry about is the screen protector coming off, the display. I don't know, maybe something falls in there, you close it and it punctures the display and boom, it's gone. So you have a bunch of other obstacles that you have to worry about, and this is your only display, and it brings no additional benefit that it closes. It might be taking a little bit less space, but let's be honest, most of the phones still fit in your pocket, or in the case of phones like this, I'm pretty sure you'd be using a purse probably. And I have no problem fitting this in my pocket, which is significantly bigger than the Razr, right? So that being said, opened or closed, it still takes the same amount of volume, and it's not like the phones like that are hard to fit in your pocket. While that being said, it does provide you with more points that could break, specifically the display. So I want to point this out, that kind of explain why I'm not the biggest fan of these specific devices, because the display size is still the same, while introducing additional points of failure, which would be the folding display, the hinges, and screen protector coming off, and all that stuff. So that's why I wouldn't recommend going for a phone like this. They're nice, but they introduce much more problems, I would argue, than they do introduce benefits. And that being said, when your screen protector would start coming off, which will happen, it's on average about 7 months for Samsung. Not sure how it stacks up against a Motorola. If they have the same policy, you will get the same, or you will have the screen protector replaced for free as long as the device is on warranty, which is 2 years. Afterwards, it will cost you money. So something to keep in mind. I had mine replaced after a year. They did it for free. Obviously, it's still on warranty, but after another year, once the device is off the warranty, it will cost me $50, at least in Poland. That's basically what it equates to. So it will cost me a lot, but at that point I can just kind of swap it out with anything else, though I probably wouldn't recommend it. They do use the screen protectors that they apply are applied in a similar fashion that a curved tempered glass would be to a device with curved display, where it is basically on glue itself instead of like the sticky foil that you get to buy. So I would probably recommend going for the official like replace. But anyway, that's for the future. Going back to right now and this device, it's a pretty nice device. I like the aesthetics of it. I do like the Ultra a little bit more because of the massive front display. But at the end of the day, the price for this specific device being at about 800 euros is a little bit high, considering it is running only a Snapdragon 7 Gen 1 and introducing the points of failure, meaning the folding part. If you really want a folding device, obviously it's going to be okay. But if you want a device that you don't really have to worry all that much about it breaking, I'd probably recommend going for something not folding, which additionally will give you better performance, because part of this price that you get to pay for this goes into the fact that it can do this. And if you don't need to do this, you get a faster device, a better device. So there we go. Now last thing that, like I said, I'm gonna check out this screen or this case. So this one fits pretty nicely. Now it does kind of slide off a little bit, but because of the leather-like back, it is being held in place pretty well, and it's also a pretty snug fit. And this case is actually designed a little bit better than the previous one for the oh, not S, for the 40 Ultra. So the 40 Ultra actually has a little strip right here that sticks to the device. This one doesn't have that. And the Ultra, because of it, when it would be laid flat, it would basically have this wobble because the case was a little bit thicker right here, creating basically a bump in the middle of your device, making it then wobble. Here we don't have any kind of gluing strip. It's just slapped on the back of your device and holds on just by friction. And because of that, the phone actually lays flat on a display on a table. But anyway, that basically sums up the entire device. Hopefully I touched upon most of the important parts. I did want to focus on the folding aspect of this device because it is one of the biggest reasons why anyone would go for this device, and it's also probably one of those reasons that people might not realize or might not be aware of the folding device problems, I would argue. It looks nice, but no company will tell you that the display is less durable, more fragile, and just fingernails can literally create dents into it. So I wanted to focus on that because when you're spending 800 euros on a device, you should be informed what the downsides of the device are rather than straight up only upsides. So with that being said, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.